up, we have Owen Ridgeway, and he is representing SellVNTG.
Let me wait for you to start the timer. How are y'all doing? My name is Owen Ridgeway, and my partners David Markham, Preston Rollins, and I founded SellVNTG last year as sophomore entrepreneurship, accounting, and business students at the University of Mississippi, and we are SellVNTG. Vintage clothing is defined as any clothing that was manufactured in a previous era. To be more specific, take this Dallas Cowboys shirt from the 1996 Super Bowl. It was manufactured in 1996 and will never be made again. And that rarity is what drives these customers to buy these products. This picture on the left is an in-person vintage clothing selling market in Oxford, Mississippi. Customers love these markets because they get to walk into one building and they get to see 20 different sellers, hundreds of different products, all in the span of 10 minutes. And sellers love this too because they get to bring all of their inventory with them, which can be up to hundreds of pieces. They get to manage that inventory, they get to grow their brand, meet new people, and most importantly, sell their products. So this is great in person, but this aspect hasn't been brought to the online world yet. And that's where our problem starts, is that customers don't have a centralized platform to discover new sellers, shop products, and interact with these same sellers. And sellers have the problem is that they don't have a digital platform that they can rely on to run all aspects of their business. Because right now, sellers are using multiple platforms to keep track of their inventory, run their business, grow their brand, and most importantly, sell these products. But with SellVNTG is you can do all those three things in one place. And that's what it is. SellVNTG is a digital marketplace online that creates a seamless process for selling and buying vintage clothing. So SellVNTG provides a centralized market that sellers come onto and they can shop through all of our sellers and all of the different products on our platform. We're also reliable for these sellers to use us for all aspects of their business because they're spending so much time going out and finding the clothing that they're selling that they can just rely on us to run all the other aspects of their business. We're also a pro seller and a pro buyer platform. We don't cater to just one party. We want both parties to be as happy as possible. To give you a size how big this market is, the secondhand apparel resale market is at $250 billion. And that number is only growing every single year. And based off our research, we concluded there are 400,000 vintage sellers just in the United States. And 3 out of 5 regular US consumers are buying vintage, whether it's furniture or artwork, or in our case, clothing. Vintage is on an upward trend. Our business model provides 3 main aspects. The first is we're giving these sellers a large pool of customers. This is due to our utilization of customer bleed over. So sellers bring their respective customers to the platform, but that's not the only people that are going to be seeing their items. The other sellers will also bring all of their customers, including the customers that we bring to the platform. They're not going to just shop that one store. They're going to have access to these hundreds of different stores on the platform. We're also supporting relationships between buyers and sellers. This is important. We want to initiate that spark and help that connection grow to make these sellers build their own community within SellVNTG. We're also allowing sellers to promote their own vintage brand through our platform, whether it's through their seller spotlights or how they customize their storefront on the platform. We're allowing them to do this because the end goal for most sellers, if it's not a brick and mortar, they want their own website. And with SellVNTG, we're providing that, but they're also getting the benefits of a shared platform. The core of every business is revenue. And how we're going to be doing that is through an 8% commission fee on every item sold. So we determined that our average price of sale with our beta was around $35, meaning we made about $2.80 off of every sale. We'll also be implementing a $10 monthly subscription fee for the seller. So this means that 2 months after a seller makes their first sale, this will be implemented. We're doing this because we want sellers to get on our platform, get comfortable with all the features and how it runs, and then we're going to hit them with a subscription fee after that. So the strategy for us to get shoppers are through SEO, social media, paid advertising, and our sales reps. Sales reps are going to be based around college campuses, either on campus or in the same town, because that's a large part of our demographic is college students. But it doesn't stop there. Our demographic ranges from 14 all the way up to someone who was actually at the event, whether it was the 70s or 80s or even further back from that. But this strategy is to get these customers to see SellVNTG and start shopping all of the sellers on our platform. Now, our seller strategy is pretty similar, but we're putting a heavy emphasis on these sales reps. These sales reps are not only going to be bringing customers to the platform, but they're going to be going out and finding sellers, whether it's locally or someone they found through Instagram or another medium of finding these sellers, and they're going to reach out to them directly, introduce them to us, or they're going to handle that aspect and get them on our platform. But once sellers see SellVNTG, it's simple after that. They sign up, they start selling, they start earning money through our platform while we earn our 8% commission fee. So we're not the first person to do this. There are a handful of other companies that provide the aspect of selling vintage clothing, except they don't bring it all into one place. And being a late entry company in this industry has been a blessing because we got to see what works, what doesn't, and what hasn't been used. So we did countless research and interviews with different sellers and consumers when building out the developmental roadmap of SellVNTG. And to go down these a little bit, our main focus is vintage clothing. So we're catering our features and every other aspect of our platform to vintage clothing. And sellers benefit from each other's customers, like I mentioned before. This isn't available on other platforms. It's where they are product-based, where people are going to find different products. They're not going on these platforms to shop around and find new sellers. We're also allowing personalized storefronts within the platform, like I mentioned before. Now they have the aspect of their own website, and there's no need to grow more than that and go and do your own thing when you can rely on us to get your traffic and other sellers to bring the customers as well. We also have a social media access for sellers to grow their community. Currently, this is done through our Instagram, through seller spotlights, interviews, and really just promoting these sellers on a day-to-day basis. We have an 8% transaction fee, and that was strategic. That's lower than all of our competitors, and theirs range from 10 to 20%, and some undisclosed amounts that can go even further. And at all, this will just be a competitive edge to bring those sellers to our platform. We're also a pro seller and a pro buyer, like I mentioned before, but these sellers are the people that are driving revenue for these platforms. Why would you not cater specifically to them to make sure they're happy and they're content and they're making money in your platform while also catering to the buyer to make sure they're happy and they're comfortable? We also have a local delivery option through our platform. So instead of shipping out an item and it can go 2 miles down the road, you can now have local delivery, whether you drop it off at their house or you go and meet them in a parking lot or whatever other mode you decide to use for local delivery. To give you an idea how scalable SellVNTG can be, with only 100 sellers, we're expecting to do around $63,000 in total revenue. And with 500 sellers, we're expecting to do $315,000. Except there's a huge difference in the expenses. Because if we 5x our sellers, our expense is only 2x, which leaves us a lot of room to grow in the future. And this is based off of half our sellers making 1 sale per day with our average price of sale. We're also expecting, with the more sellers on our platform, that our average price of sale will go up. So we did about $16,000 processing transactions through our beta. This was over 8 months. We have 20 sellers on the platform, and this was done without spending a single dollar on marketing or development. But now we're seeking $250,000, and we are confident that spending that money for the next 2 years, in year 3, we're going to break even, and we're going to see exponential growth past that for the foreseeable future. Now, to go over our team a little bit myself, I got into this because I've been buying vintage clothing for the last 6 years, and I've been selling it for the last 3. And doing that is where I stumbled across all of these problems that sellers and buyers are facing on the online selling market. David Markham, he's our Chief Operations Officer and Financial Officer. Majoring in accounting, he takes care of all of our finances. And Preston, his creative aspect is what drives our social media, all of our marketing, and getting sellers on the platform and keeping them there. And Claire Fitzik, she's our social media manager. And then we have Bennett and Knox, who are 2 sales representatives right now, currently based in Fayetteville and Baton Rouge. And Ryan Fuller, who has 20+ years of developmental experience. And not only has he started a company, but he made an exit on that company. So he'll advise us through that as well. To go over a summary, we went over the vintage market as a whole. One, not only how big it is, but all the problems that sellers and customers are facing on a daily basis. Now, execute our platform and continue to do so, SellVNTG will be extremely scalable and profitable. I just want to thank all of you for being here and taking your time out of your day to listen to us. And I want to thank the Innovate team for putting this all together and putting us all in one place to make these opportunities happen. I'd like to bring my two partners, Preston and David, up, and we'd like to answer any questions you might have. Yes.
So I really love vintage clothing as well, but one of the things I was running into when shopping was people selling knockoffs, dupes, and things like that. And then when I wanted to sell something, somebody's telling me that it was not as valuable as I thought it was. So how do you assess the value of an item and validate the authenticity of that item?
Well, so the sellers are the one that are picking the actual values of their products. Whether it's too high or too low, they're going to find out eventually. That's not necessarily up to us because they're the one pricing their items. But when it comes to knockoffs and all of that, a way to attack that is having a flagging system. So let's say a seller sells something that's not vintage, and we get a review for that, we're going to be reaching out to that seller, and that'll be their first warning. And if it happens again with the same issue, then they get a strike. And we have to have a one-on-one, not a call with them, but we'll reach out to them, and if it's a third time, they're out for good, and they're not getting back on. Yes?
Are you providing any research, like what kinds of items are selling best, or is that for yourself? Are you keeping that data for yourself, or are you providing that to sellers? Like T-shirts right now with this and this, or hoodies right now, this is what you want to get on your platform.
Yeah, so I mean, the whole goal of this is we want these sellers to make more money. We want to help build their businesses, and that's through every aspect. And if it comes to curation of their brand, yes, that's something that we will step in and we'll kind of give insights. Hey, these products are selling more this month, and give them insights to help run their business better. Yes.
So A to Z, walk me through your process. Is it like
Our process.
they send you pictures to post up? Do they have a platform access?
So that was our manual platform that we ran for the last 8 months. That was the process. We uploaded the products ourselves, and we sent the orders to the sellers, and we sent them the payments along with that. But now, in the last week, we're transitioning to our automatic platform, and we're currently doing that. So now sellers, they see SellVNTG, they can sign up, create their store, and start selling products and start shipping products. So we personally do not hold a single product. We are strictly a medium for sellers to sell their products and customers to buy their products. Yes, sir.
Any type of influencer strategy to drive traffic to the site or help sellers?
Yeah, there definitely will be. From the consumer aspect, we'll go to whether it's an athlete or an influencer or just someone with a big following. They're going to go after more of an actual buying process of how to get more buyers on there. But from the influencer standpoint on sellers, we're going to get these vintage sellers that have 50 to 100,000 followers, if not even more. And those are going to be our guys, whether we let them use the platform for free, we pay them, whatever it may be, we're going to have them promoting SellVNTG, and that be their mode of selling products. Yes, sir. For pricing for the products or pricing for our revenue model? The products. So, like someone mentioned earlier, the pricing is 100% up to the sellers. If they have stuff priced too high and they're not making sales, and they browse through the platform and see that someone's selling similar products for lower prices, then that should be a big enough hint for them to lower their prices or go with a different aspect. But that's how we're going to handle pricing. It's 100% up to the seller. Yes, sir, you in the back. So not on SellVNTG, but they are open to use as many platforms as they want. But our goal is for the next few years to build this out to where this would be the only platform they need to use, and they don't need to use the other platforms.
Have you done a comparison of like this to Poshmark? Because I think of that as like a similar.
Oh yeah, very similar, and that's one of our somewhat of a competitor. They're not directly vintage clothing because Poshmark's just resale in general. But our focus is we are vintage clothing, and it's not specifically for the person selling one or two items, but for the sellers who are doing it as a side hustle or a full-time gig. I mean, there's a broad range to this. For myself, where I was selling shirts out of my dorm room or the back of my car, to the person who's making $500,000 a year in revenue with their brick and mortar and selling through online.
So like would that be if your sellers have like a minimum inventory?
They don't. So that's something that we'll have to regulate, but they don't have a minimum inventory. They could have 5 products or 500. It just varies on the seller and how much they want to sell. Yes, sir.
I heard you mention you have a protection process in place. What type of protection process do you have in the event that a buyer buys fraudulent items? What do you have in place? How do you absorb that expense? What are you doing with that?
So for a customer who buys a fraudulent item, one, we're going to fully reimburse that customer. Even if we have to take a loss at first, that's our first goal, is we want to make sure the customer is happy. And for the seller who sold a fraudulent item, if it's their second time doing it or the third, they're off the platform. And we will subtract however much it was from their account to reimburse ourselves from eating that fee in the beginning.
Are you all asking an injection value in this pitch? Are you asking for an investment?
So on the financial forecast slide, our capital ask is around $250,000 because we plan, if we can spend that much in the next 2 years, that will have us at a nice break-even point in year 3 and see growth from there.
To spend on?
So we're going to spend that on a big chunk of that's going to development. It's a very expensive cost. Marketing is a huge part of that. Customer service and really any aspect in our business where we start spending money. You have a question? That was your question. That worked out. All right, got about 10 seconds left, but if there's any other questions, I just want to thank you guys for listening and being curious about our company. Thank you.